Hi, Runner Story family. This is Allison Gilliard with Runner Story, where every story needs to be heard. And the stories this month, including this extraordinary, very cool, amazing story, have all been possible by our podcast partner, Bras Across the Causeway. Guys, what they do for our local community is absolutely amazing. And to all the survivors of breast cancer, keep fighting. You're doing an outstanding job. We love you. We're cheering for you. And if you need anything, reach out to our friends at Bras Across the Causeway. Maybe you've just heard or learned, either you personally or someone you know has a diagnosis of breast cancer. Bras Across the Causeway is there to walk with you every step of the way. And guys, they don't do this alone. From hosting events to the Bras Across the Causeway 5K, the Sippin' and Skippin' event in Gulf Shores, whatever it is, Bras Across the Causeway, they are there and they are doing an extraordinary job of hosting incredible events, but more importantly, walking alongside and helping our neighbors financially, because when you are fighting cancer, you are fighting for your life, literally. And the day-to-day things like groceries and bills, those don't stop coming. So Bras Across the Causeway steps in and says, we are here for you to help pick up that financial burden. From hospital bills to procedures to rent, mortgages, light bills, Christmas, guys, which is right around the corner. So if you want to do something amazing this year, give to Bras Across the Causeway. We absolutely love them. We know them personally. Their hearts are so big and they truly care about those fighting breast cancer. So do that this Christmas. Reach out to them and say, hey, how can I give to you guys? You can also go to runnerstory.com. There's a link there. You can also find them on social media and on the website as well for Bras Across the Causeway. We love them. We thank you, Kathy and Courtney, and the board at Bras Across the Causeway. You guys do an outstanding job. And thank you for loving our community and standing in the gap. That's what community is all about, and that's what this running community is about. So thank you for Bras Across the Causeway for believing in the running community and believing in our community as a whole. Speaking of community, we have the incredible, the extraordinary, the most genuine human being, and that is Mr. Bob Becker. I can't believe we have Bob Becker on the podcast. How cool is that? What an amazing individual, and he loves running. He loves ultramarathons. Guys, you're going to hear some incredible stories, and he has set record after record, and in the ultramarathon world, I want to be like Bob. Absolutely incredible. I want to give a special shout out to our friend Kimmy, who made this possible. When you guys heard her story and you heard that she had a connection to Bob, several of you messaged and was like, how do we get Bob? And so reaching out to Kimmy, she made that possible. And let me tell you something, I love talking to Bob. I feel like we could have coffee and just talk together for hours. Like, such an incredible guy. His stories are incredible. You guys are going to love him. You're going to learn so much from him. And also, if you're thinking about an ultramarathon, he's the race director of 2 ultramarathons. And so I highly encourage that you look into that, because any race that Bob Becker puts on, it's going to be an extraordinary race. So I love that. I love this community so much. And I am so grateful to Kemi and to Bob Becker, because I got to know 2 extraordinary people through this podcast. And so Kemi, thank you for the connection. Bob, thank you for saying yes for being on this podcast. It was absolutely a privilege to talk to you and know your heart. And man, what goals you are, my friend. I am so proud to know you. I'm so honored to know you. And maybe I'll come volunteer for one of your races one day. I'd love to just hang out with you. Just so much fun. So thank you, Bob, for sharing your story, for sharing all the advice that you gave. And keep running, my friend. Like, you're absolutely extraordinary. So that being said, guys, lace up your running shoes and go run with my friend Bob and his run story. Okay, I am so excited. Huge honor, and I might be a little nervous because we have the Bob Becker, who, holy cow, you just finished Badwater 135.
That's right. Finished it in July, 2 months ago.
That is amazing. So I got to share this story and how we got you on, if that's okay. And that is our friend Kemi, who's a mutual friend of ours, was on the podcast, and she talked about you, like how you're so inspiring. And of course, we had already seen all the social media about you completing 135, which was insane to me. I can't even grasp my mind around that. And I had people reach out and they were like, So if Kimmy knows Bob, can we get Bob on the podcast? And I was like, guys, I have no clout, but I will ask. And Kimmy was very gracious to ask on our behalf. And here you are, Bob. So thank you for being on the podcast.
Oh, absolutely. It could have been a lot simpler than that. A simple phone call would have been just fine. But hey, Kimmy's the real deal, so it works.
I absolutely love it. So I'm so excited because I only know that you completed Badwater 135, which means you're already one bad human being. So, how does one get to Badwater 135? Like, how did you start your run story? What does your journey look like?
Wow. Well, let's see. Where do I start? Well, I ran the mile in high school. And after high school, through college, and as an adult, I really didn't run much other than to stay in shape a little bit and go to the gym, do some running. But I didn't really do any, I played sports my whole life. So I stayed active,
Mhm.
and I didn't start running until I moved to Fort Lauderdale, where I live now, in 2001. And I got a call from friends of mine in Minneapolis, where I had moved from. And they said, "Hey, we're going to run Grandma's Marathon in June. Why don't you come up and join us?" So I thought, wow, great excuse to see my buds. So I went to the local running store, one of them, bought some running shoes, said, "What do I do now?" They connected me with a marathon running training group.
Mm.
And I trained up. This was February, and I think it was June. I flew up to Duluth and ran Grandma's, and that was going to be it, one and done. But I ran well. I qualified for Boston, actually. So I said, well, okay, I got to do that. So I trained and kept training. The next year, I actually joined a different group and ran Boston. And this was, God, when was it? 2003. And afterwards, I just kept running with these guys. I really enjoyed it. And one of them mentioned to me a year later, "Did you ever hear of a race called the Marathon des Sables? It's an ultra marathon." And I said, "What's an ultra marathon?" And went home, checked it out, because really I had no idea. It turns out the
Mhm.
Marathon des Sables is an ultra marathon stage race in the Sahara Desert and in Morocco. So the next week, I said to my friend Jared, who had asked me about it, I said, "The next Marathon des Sables is next April. And I'm going to be turning 60 and you're going to be turning 40. Why don't we go give ourselves a birthday present and go do this crazy thing?" And we did. So that was my introduction to ultra marathon running. And I absolutely fell in love with everything about it: the adventure, the fact that we were running in a place I would never otherwise have seen in my life, and especially the camaraderie that is very much part of the ultra marathon scene. And in a case like Marathon des Sables, which is a stage race, each day is a stage and you run a certain
Mm.
distance and then you sleep, and the next day you get up and do it again. And where you sleep is in a tent, very tightly packed with 10 people. And it's a race where you carry all your own food and gear for the whole week. It's a 7-day
Wow.
event. And it's about
Wow.
150, 160 miles altogether. And it's rough. It's sand and rocks and mountains and heat and all that. It's desert. So you really get to know the people that you are sleeping with. And
Sure.
anyway, that whole mutually supportive environment is really what struck me about it. So anyhow, long story short, as I did that, came home, and I was stuck. I stuck in a good sense with having found a sport that I thought I could really love. That was complicated by the fact that I fractured my femur when I was over there, so it took a while to recover.
Oh.
And
Mm.
eventually I did, and started training again and started running 50 miles and 100 miles. And so I met the first ultra marathon runner I ever met was at a training camp for Marathon des Sables. His name is Natu Natraj. And after we get back, we stayed in touch. And he wound up running Badwater in 2007 and
Mm.
asked me if I would be on his crew. And of course, I said yes. So I went out there to the race, absolutely loved the whole experience. And I ran Badwater the next year, 2008, not too crude for me. So long story short is this Badwater this July, a couple months ago, was my sixth Badwater, 6 times. I finished it
Wow.
4 times officially, once unofficially. But it's the 18th year in a row that I've gone to that race to either run it, crew for somebody else, or volunteer as a race volunteer. It's just an experience in Death Valley through that entire crazy heat and everything that I just absolutely love. And of course, the more years you show up, the more friends you have and the more people you
Mm.
see year after year. So it's like a family. And yeah, it's a long winded answer, but basically that's how I got to Badwater last month or 2 months ago, as having been part of that race for a long time.
Wow. You hit on your unofficial one. Remind me, I think Kimmy talked about it. That was during COVID, correct?
Well, no, it was actually after COVID. It was three
Okay.
years. It was 3 years ago. So
Okay. Okay.
I was looking to run it one more time and become the oldest finisher ever of the race. The oldest finisher was a Brit, Jack Dennis, who was 75. And at the time that he did that in 2010, that was the last year you had 60 hours to complete Badwater. And after
Wow.
that, it was reduced to 48. Anyway,
Mm.
Jack finished the race at 75 and I finished it in 59 hours and 13 minutes. And I felt that I had a shot at beating his record, in other words, the oldest finisher, but I had to do it in 48 hours or less. So it was a major difference in the amount of time that I had.
For sure.
So anyhow, 3 years ago, I was out there and was doing great until my back gave out at about 100 miles. And I
Mm.
started bending over forward and like was literally looking at the ground for the last 30 miles or so.
Ugh.
And the last 13 miles of the Badwater race is a steep climb up Mount Whitney to where the road ends at what's called the Whitney Portal at about 8,500 feet. And I had plenty of time when I started the climb to finish it, but slowed down more and more. And it reached a point with about a mile to go where my legs just weren't working anymore. So my back
Mhm.
was shot, and it took me so long between literally walking and partly crawling, believe it or not, to break up the muscle monotony
Mhm.
that I did finish, but I finished 17 minutes and 27 seconds over the time limit. So it wasn't official.
Ah,
And that's why
gotcha.
I
I got
decided I wasn't going to do it again, but one thing led to another, and I wound up, I'll certainly tell you the story, but basically wound up applying again to run it this year, got
Mhm.
in and had a good day, was successful, and was able to complete it in 45 hours. So I became the oldest finisher.
Wow. And Bob, how old are you?
I'm 80.
That's amazing. That is absolutely incredible. One, having that experience where you're like, I literally crawled to finish. And then you went back and you're like, that's not how this is going to end. Like, that just is mind blowing to me, Bob.
Yeah, well, it was one of those crazy things that finished 3 years ago was actually captured on film, on video, and Outside Magazine had it posted and got a lot of exposure. Yeah, I wasn't necessarily going to come back. In fact, I didn't think I would. I kept running. I've been racing the last few years. And last November, I ran a race down in Arizona called the Route 66 Ultra, which is 140 miles. And I did well and I felt really good about it. And I thought maybe based on this, maybe I have a shot at being able to do that distance again successfully. So I have been for many years with an elite ultra runner whose name is Lisa Smith Batchin. And I talked to Lisa about it. And basically we said, let's give it a shot. So Lisa has always had me ready on race day. And she did this year as well. And I had a bonus because she was able to come out and be my crew chief at
Oh,
Badwater. And I can explain that whole thing about crew if you want. But between Lisa being my crew chief and another elite legend of the sport, Marshall Ulrich, agreeing to be on my crew, they got me through it. And they gave me tough love when I needed it to be sure I was eating enough and hydrating properly and taking in enough electrolytes to make sure I didn't bonk or have any cramping. And yeah, it worked out. The stars aligned, like I said, and it was a good day.
and at 80 years old, breaking, you said 45 hours.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks. I appreciate it. I don't recommend it, but yeah, there are other things you can do at 80 to keep moving and keep active without doing this crazy stuff. But yeah, it works for me.
Wow.
And as long as I can keep doing it, that's
Wow. Yeah, so explain, so I've only dabbled. I'm only dabbling in trail running because it is
right.
completely different beast from road racing. So, what does the crew look like for you? Because I've only learned through my friend Jessica Jones, who's also done Badwater, how important your crew is. So, what does that look like for you?
Sure. And I'll be glad to tell you. And Jessica's a friend of mine. I'm the race
Get
director
out of
for, yeah,
here.
I'm the race
I love
director for
that.
Keys 100 and Daytona
Okay.
100. And
Okay.
she's run my races. So yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
She's a great
I
runner.
love Jessica. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she's good news. So basically, you can't run out in the desert like that without having some support,
Sure.
consistent and regular support. because as I said a second ago, you need to be very focused on nutrition, hydration, electrolyte replacement,
Mm.
dealing with blisters, and mostly out there dealing with the heat. The race starts now at 8 o'clock at night. And when we started last 2 months ago, it was 118 at the start. So it's pretty warm. And so the crew, basically, you have a crew of 4 people who are driving in a minivan or a similar vehicle, and they leapfrog you down the highway. And you
Mm.
meet up with them every mile or two to get a fresh bottle of water, to get a new ice bandana, because ice melts very quickly, to get
Sure.
some food and so on. So I shoot for 200 or 250 calories an hour. And so they keep me on track with that. And again, with a very important electrolyte replacement. And if I had a problem with blisters, or at night I need to put on night gear or change
Mhm.
clothes or change shoes or any of that, that's what the crew is there to do, to
Mhm.
babysit me, to keep me on track, keep me on plan. And when the unexpected happens, which inevitably it does, there's always something out there, they're there to help and support. And I was really lucky to have Lisa there, who knows me better than anybody in the ultra world.
Mm.
And so, yeah, now the clock keeps running. And one of the questions I'm usually asked is, what about sleep? So you have 48 hours to complete the race.
Mhm.
But keeping in mind that the race starts at night,
Sure.
unless you're an elite runner, you're going to probably be running through 2 nights. So the first night isn't too bad. You can stay awake. Okay. And then you're into the next day, and the day gets really hot, and that saps energy. And meanwhile, you're
Mhm.
adding miles, and you get tired, you get fatigued. And then you get into the second night, and that becomes a real challenge to stay awake. So you can sleep. Again, the clock is running.
Mm.
And so I wound up, I had 3 naps. I had a 15-minute nap and two 20-minute naps, and that was able to get me through. But had I not been awakened by my crew, I would have slept for 6 hours. And you're
Sure,
right.
sure.
So that's one of the many things that they're doing, keeping very close track of time. And again, we had a very specific plan, best case, worst case. And the idea was to keep me within those parameters so that I would
Mhm.
have time to finish. Yeah. And so that's what happened. And that's what they do. And they, again, kept seeing me every mile or two for the entire 135 miles. So for a crew, it's nearly as much work, and in some cases more, than the runner, because they have to
Mm.
stay awake as well. They have to stay hydrated and fed, and they have to get some sleep and take in electrolytes because the heat's affecting them as well. So crewing is not easy to help a runner accomplish their goal, but
Mhm.
running ultras is it's not for everyone. But so the crew is vital. Jessica's absolutely right. We require a crew at Keys 100 too, so she's very familiar with that. But yeah, that was it. And thanks to my crew of 4, I was able to get to complete the goal, make it in a
Wow.
few hours under the cutoff.
That is amazing. Oh, and that just makes the finish line just even so much sweeter, knowing that other people sacrificed to get you to this moment.
Oh, you bet. It's definitely a team effort, and that's not hyperbole. It really is.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it was really cool because I have a lot of friends out there. There were a lot of people at the finish line waiting to welcome me in, and it was exciting.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
you're there and you're like, wow, I really did this. So you get this sense of
Mhm.
accomplishment and exhilaration and exhaustion all at the same time. And on the one hand, you want to have a beer and celebrate with your buds. And on the other hand, you want to go down the hill, get to the hotel, get some sleep.
That's right. You're like, "I'm gonna fall asleep in the shower." That's what I'm gonna
Yeah.
do.
Well, it's a 13-mile slow drive down this twisty, steep road. So I get to sleep in the front seat of the car before I ever got to the hotel. So that's cool too.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That is phenomenal. Man, that's amazing. So, there have got to be some lessons that you've learned from running, Bob.
Yeah. Well, first is never stop.
Mm.
That's at least at my age. When you get older, it's tough to start up again, but within reason, keep going. Now, I'll tell you what my order of priorities are when I do an ultra. The first one is come home alive. That's also my wife's priority. That
It's a good priority.
there you go. And the second one is don't get injured. And the
Mm.
third one is finish. And then the fourth one is pick off a few of the youngins if you can. And for me, they're all youngins. So, and even in this race, I beat a few people in. So that was cool. But and the main thing is really preparation as much as anything else. It's
Mm.
don't overtrain. This is where Lisa's so great. It's a fine balance between maximizing your training so you're really ready on race day as best you possibly can be, but not overtraining where you injure yourself. And going back to that very first ultra marathon des Sables, I probably had a stress fracture from overtraining that I didn't know about. That's the only thing we can
Sure.
think of because there was no
Mhm.
specific trauma that caused a leg fracture. And that was really before Lisa was coaching me. But again, the key is try and be very careful not to overtrain. Watch out for injury. And if you do sustain one, be very careful in recovering
Mhm.
properly so you live to fight another day. Yeah, that's it. And with us, with me, it's not all about mileage. It's about developing a strong core, cross training, because when you're doing something as long as these things, it's not all about your leg strength.
Sure.
And a strong core is really important. And the other part of it is that I think you'll find that when you get to a race like this, a lot of it is mental, a lot of it's in your head.
Mm.
And you really have to remember why you're out there when you're going through a low point, which is inevitable, when you're
Sure.
asking yourself, what the hell am I doing out here? This is crazy. And remember, you chose to be there and you have a goal, and how great it feels when you cross that finish line, and how lousy it feels when you don't finish and you think the next day or two, God, if I'd only done this, that, or the other thing, maybe I could have finished. So
Mm.
it's a head game as well as a physical one. And yeah, best response I can give you.
Yeah, it's great. So I have to know because you mentioned that you are race director for ultra marathons. So how did you get into that? Like, how does one go from running to an RD for these epic racing adventures?
Well, part of it was timing, but I live in South Florida and I got back from MDS, Marathon des Sables. I ran a couple of 100 milers. And I said to this same friend of mine who had mentioned Marathon des Sables in the first place, I said, there are no ultras in South Florida. And I wonder if it would make sense to try to create one. If, for example, running the Keys, the Florida Keys, could be viable for a race. Because interestingly, Key Largo to Key West, which is essentially the length of the Keys, is 100 miles.
Oh,
So
wow.
in 2007, myself and Jared and three others, so five runners, supported by seven crew people, drove down to Key Largo, spent the night, got up the next morning, and started running. And we wound up in Key West and really felt that, yeah, I could be viable for a race. And in the meantime, I'd been in the mortgage banking business my life. And that was right around the time of the real estate crash. And without going into all the details, I decided that I wanted to see if I could make this thing work and try to learn something about becoming a race director. And I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. But we decided in 2008 to put this race on and see what happens. And yeah, so in 2008, the Keys 100 was born in May of 2008. And I loved the experience and then decided with the support of my wife that that's what I wanted to do. So without exaggerating, I took a vow of poverty and said, okay, we're going to do this. And I loved it. I wound up creating other races. Today, I direct Keys 100 and another race called Daytona 100. Keys 100, basically, you're running across 42 islands to get from Key Largo to Key West. So it's very ocean and Caribbean oriented. It's beautiful. A lot of, unless you don't like turquoise water, then it's not beautiful. But
Mm,
yeah, it's
sure.
pretty cool. And then you wind up in Key West, which is so much fun. Such a great place to
Mm.
be. And my other race is from Jacksonville Beach down to Daytona Beach, actually just south of
Mhm.
there. And it's called Daytona 100. It's also along the Ocean Road. So it's, again, great water views. And these races include 100 milers, 50 milers, and 50-kilometer races, and a relay option. So,
Oh, fun.
yeah, so they're really great for people who've done marathon or half marathon to be on a relay team or to try your first ultra at 50K. And what's so interesting is over the years, so many of the relay people, you wind up running for a while with one of the ultra competitors, and you say, wow, if that person can do it, maybe I can too. And it kind of creates the next generation of ultra runners. And
Yeah.
that's been very gratifying. We've really brought
Yeah.
a lot of people into the sport. And yeah, that's what I've been doing for 17 plus years now.
Wow, that is absolutely phenomenal. That is so stinking cool.
It wasn't any real plan. It just fell in my lap and I
Sure.
said, why not? So
Mm,
whatever I was at that age at that time, I said, you know what? It's time for a career change. And it's been great.
and I love how you said that anybody that wants to, like myself, that's like dabbling in the ultra world, that's, oh, well, trail running. We're not up there to ultra yet, but that's dabbling in it can go and run alongside those that maybe it's their 15th ultra, or maybe they have all these experiences and you get that time together that you wouldn't get in a road race.
Yeah, well, actually, these races are road races, and I didn't mean to
Okay.
be
Yeah.
mistaken. Yeah, Keys and the Daytona are road races, as is Badwater. And you are right though, the vast majority of ultramarathons are trail races, not only out west, but here in the south and up in the northeast and up north. It's all over the country. There are a million ultras now, and pick your poison in the mountains, on flatlands, and very technical terrain, point to point races, out and backs, loop courses. And so on pavement or on trails, there are lots and lots of choices. And you were asking before about a crew. Some trail or mountain races, there's just no way to have a support crew there because they have no way to access you. But there
Sure.
are a lot of them that do accommodate a crew. So they will meet you at certain accessible points along the course, and you can still have that meetup, that still have that support. But the races I've been talking about have been road races.
Mhm. But they get that opportunity to talk to
Oh,
those that
yes.
are ultras. Whereas, like in a marathon, you're not really going to get that opportunity because they got goals. They want to finish. But in ultra, it's a different mindset. And you're not going full all out
Yeah.
because you got more than 26 miles to go.
Well, yeah, but and even elite athletes who are there to break records and do extraordinary things, you're still typically in a much, much smaller race. You know,
Mhm.
you're not looking at Boston with 30,000 people or something, right?
Sure.
You're in a much smaller race where you actually physically get to see people. And because of the
Mm.
nature of ultra running, and again, that camaraderie aspect, I've never met anybody in these races that wouldn't talk to you and share their thoughts and ideas. And
Mm.
it's just the nature of the sport. And it's one of the reasons I love it so much, because we're all A-type personalities. We want to win. But if you run into somebody out there on a trail or the road and that ran out of water, you'll stop and you'll share your water with them and then keep going. I tell the story of what was my first 100 miler. It was a trail race in Texas in February called Rocky Raccoon, believe it or not. It's a very popular race. And it's 4 25-mile loops of this course. And it gets really cold at night because it's around a lake. And I wasn't prepared at all. I just didn't have the right clothing. So it got brutally cold at night. And I finished
Mm.
the third loop and my bones were banging against each other. I was freezing my butt off. And another guy came in right behind me and saw what I was going through. And this guy was all layered up with all kinds of shirts and stuff. And he literally took a shirt off his back and gave it to me to help me out.
Mm.
It's the literal shirt off your back story.
Mm.
And one of the things that, again, reinforced that attitude that's very much part of the sport. And yeah, it fits right into the comment you made about being able to talk to people and get to know them and have your picture taken with them. It's all good. So yeah, it's a wonderful part of the sport.
I love that. You've mentioned several different races, and obviously you being an RD for Keys 100 and Daytona 100. But do you have a favorite race?
Well, it's a hard question only because there's so many. I have a lot of favorite races. So
Sure.
obviously the Badwater series and Badwater 135 itself are near and dear to my heart. I have some favorite trail races as well, but probably the one that is the most, I guess, the most personally, emotionally connected for me is a race I ran in China 9 years ago.
What?
It was in the mountains in the very southwest corner of China in Yunnan province that actually abuts Myanmar, Burma. And while I was there, I realized that part of China was the area in World War II where Americans and Chinese were fighting together on the ground against the Japanese. And in that
Wow.
area, actually stopped the advance and turned the tide of the war in that part of the world. And they were supported on the ground by Americans flying from India over
Mm,
those mountains, it's part of the Himalayas, over what they call the hump, dropping bombs in support of those troops on the ground. And my
mm.
father was in one of those planes in World War II.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, it was very emotional. So
Sure.
Literally, if I looked up in the air 75 years before, he'd be
Mm.
up there.
Mm.
So that was a very, very important connection. And the people there in that part of the world still revere Americans for having helped save their homeland. And
Mm.
we were treated, there were, I think, I don't know, 15 Americans that went over to run the race. And all of us were just treated like royalty. And as you can imagine, I was like the oldest one. And that age thing is important over there too. So
Mm.
I got some special attention. So it was a very memorable experience and therefore probably my favorite race that I've ever done for that reason.
Oh, I love, oh, what a story. Oh, man. So, you being an ultra marathoner, your pre-race routine is going to look a whole lot different than running a 5K.
Yeah. Oh,
So, what does your pre-race routine look like?
you talking about training specifically or just like
Yeah, or
immediately
race
before?
day. Yeah, however
Yeah.
you want
Well,
to.
race day, I'm not somebody that eats a lot before a race, but if I'm up 2 or 3 hours before a race start, which is typical, I'll have a banana and a bagel or something with some peanut butter on it. Nothing unique, nothing esoteric, just a little something to get myself going. And
Mhm.
again, during the race, and this is something typically different from a half marathon or a 5Ks, I'm going to be eating every hour to keep those
Mhm.
calories going. Because if I don't, I'm
Mm.
not going to make it to the finish line for sure.
Sure.
You have to
Mhm.
keep those calories coming in. So yeah, race morning, basically that's it. And with training, as I mentioned, it's not all running, but you put your miles in for sure. I think my last few years, my heaviest mileage, probably 60 or 70 miles a week,
Mm.
which is not actually that much compared to a lot of people. But again, doing some cross training. In the case of a race like Badwater, even though I live in Florida and it's hot, as I said, the start of the race this year is 118 and it
That's
frequently gets into
insane.
the 120. So, and it's in the desert. So I'll spend time in a sauna as
Mm.
well, training, literally just taking time getting used to that intense dry heat. And the thing about, I guess, one of the other pieces of advice, if I may, and this is where Lisa's a genius, is her training me is age specific as well as race specific.
Ooh,
So if
good.
it's a
Yeah.
race with mountains or even Badwater, it has a lot of climbing. You're looking at
Mhm.
two 5,000-foot climbs and an 8,000-foot climb. So there are hills involved. Well, there aren't any hills in Fort Lauderdale. I don't know about
Mm.
Mobile, but none here. And so you look for ways to simulate hill training. You can find tall buildings with staircases where they'll let you run up and down. You do that.
Mm.
You go to the gym and use the Stairmaster. I do a technique where I pull a tire actually behind me, attached to my waist with a rope, and the drag of the tire creates stress on the back of your legs and simulates hill running in that respect. And then there are no hills here, but there's a bridge that I'll run literally back and forth over until I'm brain dead. Sometimes as many as 25 miles back and forth across that bridge, because that's it. That's as good as it gets for hill training.
Mhm.
So again, that's the race specific kind of this thing. But the other
Mhm.
thing, age specificness, meaning don't overtrain. So not too many miles, not as many miles as I would have run 15 years ago, as an
Mm.
example, and not the
Mhm.
speed work I would have done 15 years ago. That's not where my head is. I know I'm going
Mhm.
to do a run walk sequence when I'm in these long races. That's what works for me now. And so that's what I train to.
Wow, that is so good. I love that advice. Just and I love how you're like, "I'm gonna use a tire and I'm gonna pull it." Because we have a couple of hills, but nothing like a mountain, nothing like that. Everything's north of us, like Birmingham,
Right.
Montgomery area, which is insane because there's mountains that you're
Right.
climbing. So that's incredible. Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
Bob.
You improvise, you do what you can do. And
That's
yeah, and having a great coach, you don't have to make it all up yourself because she's been there and done that. And there's a lot of other
mhm.
clients. And she's an elite ultra runner herself. When she was in her heyday, she won Badwater and she won Marathon des Sables as well, that first race I did. So
Wow. Yeah.
Lisa's done, she ran for her 50th birthday, she ran 50 miles in 50 states in 53 days or something. She couldn't quite make the transportation work, but close enough 50, 50, 50. Yeah, she's the real deal. She's amazing. So,
That's
yeah,
insane.
find,
Wow.
find a great coach if you can. That's also my advice.
Yeah, for sure. You've mentioned a lot of cross training. So, do you have a favorite cross training exercise that you like to do or a place that you like to go for cross training?
Yeah, I go to the gym and I'm not a big bike rider, and also it's not the
Hmm.
safest thing in the world to do down here because there are narrow bike lanes, but the
Hmm.
city planners never thought to install
That's
bike
right.
lanes. There's no rails to trails. There's none of that,
Hmm.
unfortunately. So I'll do my work in a gym. So it's doing a stationary bike. I like Stairmaster. I'll do that quite a bit. I like a rowing machine, and
Yes.
occasionally I'll do a treadmill with an incline. So again, nothing too original, but those are mostly the things I do. And then I do some core exercises, do a little
Hmm.
lifting. It's all important. And actually, I just started doing a little yoga about 2 weeks ago for the
Mm.
first time, and I'm going to try to do more of that. I'm not good at stretching, shame on me. So I'm hoping yoga will improve my crazy stiff body a little bit.
I think that is every runner is like shaking their head going, yeah, neither do I.
Yeah, it's just I just don't have the discipline. I whatever.
Do you have a favorite recovery tool? Because we're talking about cross training and taking care of your body. Is there a way that you like to recover?
Well, I will stretch a little bit, and occasionally I'll use a roller or a stick or something. But for the most part, other than trying to get some protein in after a run,
Mm.
I don't. Not really. That
Okay.
is important if you're doing a long run or down here. Last night I did a yeah just we did Thursday night I did a little 5 mile loop with buddies of mine, and been
Mhm.
doing it for literally since I moved here, or almost since I moved here. And we go out, we run and clean up and go have a beer and pizza or something.
Mm.
But it's important after that because it's hot to take electrolytes. So I'm going to do some kind of an electrolyte
Absolutely.
drink, or mostly I use capsules like Salt Stick or Enduralights,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. So again, trying to balance the hydration with electrolyte replacement to replace the salts and minerals you lose through sweat. That's really important too, to avoid cramping.
Absolutely. Oh, perfect. Let's shift to your favorite running item. Do you have something that you will not go running without?
Well, yeah, I always run with a bottle, and not everybody does. I have a Nathan handheld that they don't
Mm,
make
yeah.
anymore
Mhm. Mm.
that I particularly like. I have a couple of them, so I swap them out. But I think once they totally wear out, I think I'm going to have to retire. But, I always run with a bottle, and if I'm
Mm.
running any kind of distance at all, I'll bring electrolytes with me.
Mm.
I use this little waistband thing where I'll carry my phone. I don't typically listen to music, but I do when I'm training, listen to audiobooks.
Okay.
And I really enjoy that. And
Mm.
so I'll carry that not in an armband. I don't have enough bicep to hold it up. So I wear a Nathan waist belt that works great because it doesn't bounce around. And
No.
I wear shock after shocks so I can hear what's going on around me, but still listen to the book or music,
Mm.
which occasionally I do. So
Okay.
yeah, those are
So
some things that I like to use.
I like it. Speaking of, so what kind of audiobooks do you like to listen to?
Oh God, a little bit of everything. A
Okay.
lot of times just crazy action stuff that I don't have to focus on a whole lot. Sometimes it's
Mm.
history
Mhm.
or biography. Sometimes podcasts also. It really depends. But again, typically not music. And it's good. Like when I go across that bridge I told you about here in Fort
Yeah.
Lauderdale, the highest bridge,
Mhm.
it's a half a mile across. So 1 mile is two crossings of the bridge. You do 25 miles. That's, like I said, you're brain dead at the end. So
Right.
that and that's the perfect place. I'm on a sidewalk, a bike
Mhm.
path and a sidewalk really. And so I don't have to worry about the vehicles. And
Mhm.
so I just focus on whatever it is that I'm listening to, and it really does make the time go by. So
Mm.
yeah, that's a big help for me,
Oh,
especially on Bridge Day.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially on Bridge Day. I
Today's
love that. That's great. So most people are like, I got a long run. Nope, today's Bridge Day.
Bridge Day. Yeah, in fact, tomorrow is Bridge Day, but I'm just
Ah!
yeah, and I'm just maintaining right now, back to running a little bit. So tomorrow it's only 8 miles, so I can handle that.
Okay. We've been a little spoiled this past week. I don't know how Florida's been, but we've had like fake fall. And so it's been beautiful. And then this morning we got up and went out and I was like, "Oh, it's back. The humidity is back."
Yeah,
And
well,
it just made me
we didn't get
sad.
a break. We did not get a break.
No.
So good for you.
I'm I'm so sorry. What do you like to run in, Bob? What are your favorite running shoes?
I've been wearing ultras for a long time, and I wear ultra
Hmm.
because of the toe box shape. It's a zero drop shoe, which, if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, the stack height of the forefoot and the heel are the same. So it's like you were running barefoot, if you will.
Hmm.
But the main thing is the toe box is shaped like your foot. And while it looks like a clown shoe, it gives your toes a lot of room to splay as your feet get hot and swollen.
Mm.
And for example, I ran this Badwater a couple months ago that I ran it in one pair of shoes. I never changed shoes. I get one small blister. That was it. So, because blisters are a big
Whoa.
part of ultra running too,
Sure.
or running in the heat.
Hmm.
So they work for me. They may not be for everybody, but they work for me. And that's why I run it in them, in the Touring model. And
Hmm.
my trail shoes are ultras as well. So yeah, again, not for everybody, but for me, they work beautifully.
I gotta know, Bob, you being an ultra marathoner, how many pairs of shoes do you go through? Because I rotate depending on short distance or a speed day or hills, or if I'm going for a long run, which my long run is like not at all compared to yours. So, how often do you change shoes, my friend?
Well, I change shoes fairly frequently because of the heat
Okay.
mostly, but
Sure.
I actually probably go through on average close to one pair a month, which is
Wow.
insane. A part of it, one of the downsides of ultras,
Wow.
they don't last too long. You don't get too many miles out of them. But
Okay.
yeah, I probably go through, yeah, maybe it's 10 pair a year, something like that. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a big investment, but it is what it is. And it's, I'm not having to invest in $15,000 bicycles, so I can invest in a
Sure.
few pair of shoes. That's basically what I do.
Well, here's what Ultra should do. Not that they listen to the podcast, but they should. And sponsor you because 10 pair a year. Wow.
Yeah. Well,
That's
they
wow.
actually sponsored my races for a couple of years.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, I wish they still were, but yeah, yeah, but I'm still loyal,
Yeah.
and I'm always looking for a better mousetrap, dude. Why not? But and there are a couple other companies that make it that make that wide toe box, but
Mhm.
I've never found anything that is as comfortable overall.
Mm,
And
sure.
if you go from a regular shoe, if you go from a Brooks or something or a Hoka
Mhm.
to an Ultra, and you're going from a heel stack of 6, 8, 10 millimeters to a zero heel stack, you have
Mhm.
to be careful to transition into
That's
that
right.
so
Mhm.
you don't injure yourself. And the same thing is true in the other direction. So if I were to give up Ultras and go to a more traditional type of shoe, I'd have to do it gradually. And I just haven't found the thing that turns me on enough to want to make the change.
Sure. So you've already mentioned a little bit with your crew how they have to keep you fed. So what does fuel look like for you during an ultra?
I keep it pretty simple, actually. And if it's, especially if it's a hot weather race, in a race like Badwater or a race like my Keys 100 race, your body's working very hard to keep your body temperature under control, which
Mm-hmm.
means that a lot of your blood supply is at the extremities to help with that process. And that means that you don't have a whole lot of extra blood supply left for your stomach to digest food properly. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
eating solid food, eating real food is difficult in the heat. So knowing that I want between, and I need between 200 and 250 calories, my go-tos are Ensure, the old lady
Okay.
drink,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So I old man drink for me. So I'll drink half a bottle of Ensure every hour, and that's about 115 calories or so. And then on the half hour, I'll have usually a gel, which is another 100. So I'm
Okay.
getting in the calories I need, plus
Mhm.
I'll eat something else or take a swig of a Coke or a Gatorade or something like that.
Mhm.
And during the course of the race, you get tired of this stuff. So I'll switch to other things, but typically they're either fluids or something like applesauce or at night
Okay.
mashed potatoes, or like at Badwater, we'll use a little gas stove and prepare some ramen. So I get some noodles and some
Mm.
broth. That's hugely helpful and a huge break from all that sweet stuff. So
Mhm.
yeah, so that for me, it's again, it's fairly simple. But I know a lot of people that are able to handle real food and prefer it, and it works for them and it fuels them very well. I wish it was that easy for me, but
Mhm.
again, the two go tos are gels and Ensure. Those are my basics.
Do you have a favorite gel?
Yeah, I typically use just the old fashioned goo. And at night, I'll use the ones that have some caffeine. I like the
Mm.
Martin as well, but
Okay.
they're a little more expensive. I do like their consistency. They get out real easy.
Mhm.
So I'll use some of those as well. But I've used Hammer. I've used a lot of different brands. I stick with what I know and it works for me. So, hey, why not?
After completing an ultramarathon, and after you've slept, is there a certain food that you're like, I just want to eat right now?
Yeah. Well, when you finish, your first inclination, your first inclination would typically be a burger and fries and a beer, right?
Okay. Okay.
But I've been a vegan the last 3 years, so I'm not eating
Mhm.
burgers these days. So yeah, nothing specific that I crave
Mhm.
typically, unless I can get my hands on a veggie burger, maybe. I do eat a lot of carbs, and so something that's carb loaded will
Mm.
typically work for me as well. But I look forward to breakfast the next morning. I can tell you that. So
I
yeah.
love that.
Yeah, so sleep first, breakfast second, I guess, is for me
Mm.
what works. But in the old
Okay.
days, I would again a burger and fries. Absolutely, that would be it. Get the salt down.
Love that. What advice would you give to somebody that wants to get into running, but maybe, or even ultra marathons? Like maybe they're a runner and they're looking at ultra marathons, but they don't know where to start. What is some advice you'd give them?
Well, again, for me, because it works for me, I would search out a coach who
Mm.
you can feel comfortable with to get you started and get you training the right way, and help you select a good race for yourself. I know people who jump from running a half marathon to a 100 miler, and sometimes they actually make it work, but that's pretty rare.
Mhm.
So I would take it one step at a time. This is one of those do what I say, not what I do kind of thing. Or if you've really never had any exposure to an ultra race,
Mhm.
get on somebody's crew or
Mm.
run a race that also has a relay option so you can check out the action while you're involved in the race. And yeah, those would be the thing. I would just take it and the main reason for the idea of taking it gradually and not jumping into something too long, too difficult, too quickly is you don't want to injure yourself or bonk and not be able to finish the race.
Mm. Mhm.
Because even a marathon, you need typically to take some calories in during a marathon. But when you're running a long ultra, it's very technical. You've got to really balance carefully hydration, nutrition, electrolytes, dealing with the heat, dealing with blisters, all of
Mm.
those
Mhm.
things, and wearing the right clothing, lubing up so you don't wind up with problems not only with your feet, but with your groin or whatever
Mm.
that can
Mhm.
knock you out of a race. And all that stuff can do that. So again, a good coach is going to prepare you properly, not just the running part of it, the physical part of it, but all these other parts of the process, all this technical stuff,
Mhm.
and helping you select a race that makes sense. So for me, since I live in flat South, hot Florida, it doesn't make sense for me to say, you know what, I think I'm going to run Hard Rock as my first race. That wouldn't, and for anybody that doesn't know what that is, that's a very technical high mountain race that is between 10 and 14,000 feet out in Colorado. That does not work. So yeah, so that's race selection is important as well. All that counts.
Mm. That's really good advice. Yeah. That's really good. When it's been hot or you've wanted to quit or when you were crawling at Badwater, do you have a mantra? Is there something that you tell yourself to keep going?
Well, not specifically, other than again this notion that I chose to be out there. So I remind
Mm.
myself of that this wasn't flippant. I mean, there was a plan, there was a reason, and because I have not finished races, I have DNF'd, and it feels really lousy when that happens. To take stock of where I am, and for
Mm.
myself and anybody else, I would say most races you have a lot of time to finish. And if you reach one of those points in the race where you said, I'm done, I don't want to do this anymore, unless it's an injury that is serious. And I don't mean a blister, but something that
Sure.
could become permanent or become really a problem. I always advise people to get to an aid station or to a crew if you have one and sit down and hydrate, get something to eat, cool off, take a half an hour, take an hour if you need to, close your eyes if you need to, and give yourself a chance to calm down and rethink it. And so often I find runners that say, you know what, okay, I'm feeling better. I'm going to give it one more shot. And they wind up finishing the
Mm.
race. They do
Mm.
wind up finishing. It happens all the time. So whether it's for myself or whether it's advice to somebody else, it's remember why you're there. Remember how incredible it feels to cross that finish line. And again, as long as you're not causing an injury or a long-term problem to yourself, try to hang in there, because there's a well-known Canadian ultra runner and adventurer whose name is Ray Zahab. And my favorite Ray Zahab quote is that ultra running is 90% mental and the rest is in your head. And there's a certain truth to that. So, hey, that's my advice.
Oh, that's good. Well, you've already set the record at Badwater 135, but do you have any other running goals?
Well, I have set a couple of other records and age range records, and I have a record at a race that actually happened again last week. I choose my races carefully. And when I say that, I want to be realistic about what I'm able to do at the pace I'm able to keep, how many hours there are to finish the race, and what kind of topography it is, whether I can manage it or not. I mentioned hard rock a minute ago. A real heavily technical downhill race with roots and rocks and ruts. I'm going to have to take that much, much slower than I used to. So I try to factor in all these things when I select a race. Having said that, there are a couple of age range records that I think are potentially within reach for me. I'm just not sure that I want to do that anymore. 2 years ago, I set the world record for the 48-hour fixed time race in my age range. So if people don't know what fixed time race is, most races are a fixed distance, right? 5K, marathon, 100-mile. And the question is, how fast can you finish that distance? How fast can you finish 100 miles? So a fixed time race flips that on its head. And let's say it's a 24-hour ultramarathon race. And then the question is, how many miles can I run in 24 hours? So that's a whole different type of ultramarathon race event. So one of the categories is 48 hours. And 2 years ago, I ran with the intent of trying to break the record for 48 hours in my age range. And I was able to do that. And so I'll pick in terms of goals, I don't really have anything specific, but I'm in the back of my head, if I think my body can manage doing this again to itself, maybe going after another age range record at some race or 100-mile record. We'll see.
Bob, was absolutely incredible. That's nuts.
Yeah,
that is wild.
Well, insanity is a prerequisite for doing ultras. I didn't mention that earlier.
Wow. I'm just trying to wrap my head around all of this. And I'm like, well, okay, Bob.
Well, Allison, also this stuff isn't for everybody, okay?
That's
some people have more sense. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So do you have, like, whether it's training run or it's race day, do you have a favorite length to run?
Well, races for me, really, the longer they are, the more competitive I can be. And actually, the more I enjoy them. So this year, preparing for Badwater, I ran a 50K and 250 milers and an 81-mile race, actually, the first 6 months of the year as part of my training regimen. And that's more than I would normally do. But they were really, each race was its own race. I was in them to the finish and all that. But what I really prefer in like goal races would be the longer stuff. 100 miles or longer would be my preference. Or like a 48-hour, like a long fixed time type of race.
That is absolutely bonkers. Wow. I don't think I've had anyone on here that's been like, yeah, the 100-miler, that's my favorite. Wow. Okay. Bob, when you're not running or you're directing a race, what are you passionate about? What fuels you?
Getting some sleep. I do some genealogical work. I like to read. I'm beginning now to do some paid speaking engagements, which I hope to do more of. Thinking about very beginning stages of writing a book. I keep pretty busy. And really the race directing part of my life is pretty full time, because in addition to the 2 races that I direct and own and produce, I also consult for an Indian tribe here in Florida and help them create a new ultramarathon last year. So I'm tied into that as well. It's the Miccosukee Indian tribe of Florida. And that race, called Glades Runner, is out in the Everglades. And it's a 5K, a 16.5 miler, and a 50K. And I love doing that. I love playing a consulting role. So with all of it, I'm a pretty busy boy. not a whole lot of spare time.
Bob, do you have any final words of wisdom, my friend?
Wow. Well, first of all, I really appreciate the chance to share some of these stories and ideas with your audience. And I hope people will take away one thing, which is that I'm really not totally nuts. And I don't mean to be flippant about saying, yeah, I do 100 milers. No, I take them very seriously. And you have to take anything long seriously because you can
Sure.
injure yourself. You
Mhm.
can die out there. Seriously, you do have to be very careful. It just happens to be my sport of choice at this stage of my life, which again, I didn't plan on doing, fell into, but just
Wow.
fell in love with. And here I am. So I don't know how much longer I'll be able to do this, but I am told pretty often that I had inspired somebody's grandma to get off the couch and start moving. And
Oh.
whether that means going
Mm.
for a walk or planning on doing a 5K with the grandkid after some training or going out in the
Mm.
yard and planting a garden, whatever it is, if I can help people do that, inspire them to do that, then that's worth a lot as well. And so I'll try to keep at this for a while longer.
Bob, you are amazing. Like I'm inspired. Like I'm such a huge fan and getting to know you and your story, an even bigger fan. And so thank you for taking the time to tell us your story. And I learned so much. And I'm just incredibly grateful again to our friend Kimmy. And now that I know that you know Jessica, I love how small our world is.
Yes.
The running community is so special. And the ultra world, well, it's different. It's still part of the running community. And I love it so much. So thank you so much for all that you do in the ultra world, but in the running community, and for sharing your story with us.
My absolute pleasure. I really enjoyed it. A lot of fun talking to you, Allison. Thank you. And thanks for
Absolutely.
your audience for listening.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
Don't you just love Bob? Oh, what an incredible human being. All the things that he's done, the records he's done, the ultra marathons he's overcome. Just incredible. Like, I could not believe that I was talking to this legend and somebody that has done just feats. Incredible. So, Bob, thank you for doing all you've done. Thank you for being the race director that you are, the runner that you are, the encourager that you are. I just thank you for making the running community better. And again, thank you for taking time to share your story on this podcast. It was such a privilege. And I'm so grateful to know you. I'm such a huge fan. And I just adore you, my friend. I'm so thankful that I've gotten to know you and all the things. Because, Bob, you're just all the things. So thank you, Bob, so much for your story. And again, thank you, Kemi, for setting us up together to be able to hear Bob's story. What a really cool thing for our community. So thank you so much, Bob and Kemi. We just love you guys. Thank you so much. And guys, if you're looking for ultramarathon, go check them out. Oh, so good. So good. As always, thank you to Gilliard Tech Services. We love and appreciate him so much. Just such an extraordinary job. He does not miss a beat when it comes to this podcast. He loves this podcast probably more than I do. And so could not do this without him. And we love this podcast. So thank you to Greg Gilliard from Gilliard Tech Services. You do such an amazing job on the website. Guys, if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. He's constantly changing things. It looks so good. So excited. And if you need help with the website, definitely check him out. That is Gilliard Tech Services. You can find him on our website. You can find him on social media and on his own website as well, which is Gilliard Tech Services. And thank you again to Bras Across the Causeway, one, for all that you guys do. You are absolutely amazing for pouring into this community the way that you do. Two, for believing in this podcast, for believing in the running community and putting on such incredible events that runners can be a part of, that we can help our fellow neighbors. So never too late to give to Bras Across the Causeway. We absolutely love and adore them. So thank you so much, Bras Across the Causeway, for partnering with us the month of October. And our Patreon family members, we love you guys. We're so thankful for you. We added more Patreon members this month, so that's been really fun. We're so excited that we've gotten to be a part of this and grow as a community. And so thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Like, we love and adore you, and we're so excited. And we can't wait for more things to come and more people to join. Guys, if you're interested in joining our Patreon community, we would love to have you. You can go to our website to find out more information for that as well. And as always, make sure you like, share, comment, guys. That's how Bob's stories, along with all of our stories, get shared. You never know whose story is going to make an impact the way that it does. And we've gotten so much feedback from all kinds of stories, and it means the world to us that we get those messages. But also share it on your own social media and make sure that everyone knows about Run Your Story, because we are really proud of what we put on here. We're really honored that so many of you trust us with your stories, and we don't take that lightly. So we thank you to everyone who shares their stories and to everyone who listens. You guys make a huge difference in the world, and you make it better. All right, guys, until next time, go run your story, because every story needs to be heard.